All right, good morning. It is Friday. It's such a Good Friday today, Good Friday 2025. And the theme of resurrection has been present in several of the videos this week, and actually wasn't deliberate. What I was thinking about when I planned out this week was the idea that, we have a framework and a set of principles or practices that help guide the practice, help guide the project of enlightenment. And then we have the direct experience, the fullness of experience. And I've been talking this week about the relationship between the framework and the experience. And what it boils down to is that at a certain point, the framework has to dissolve into the experience, right? That even the most elaborate system or the most pithy set of directions or the most evocative recreation, no matter what, these are all pointers towards the experience. They are scaffolding. And in fact, I'm going to read a poem because it's by Emily Dickinson, and it's a poem that really, I'm putting my coffee down, really has always resonated with me. And you'll see why. It's called "The Props Assist the House." So I'll read this, and then we'll talk a bit more about framework, dissolution of the framework, and maybe how the ideas around resurrection fit into some of that. Right, because resurrection and mortality, what I said on Tuesday, was one way of looking at the end of our mortal, metabolically controlled, constrained, metabolically supported experience. The end of that isn't a sequel. It's a dropping of the veil. It's a resolution away from delusion. And in this sense, it's a sinking into the fullness of experience, which I think is a poetically valid way of reading the Easter resurrection. It's probably not a very good theological reading of it, but it's a pretty nice poetic reading that with the resurrection, it's not like the chapter flipped and we begin a new instance. It's instead that Jesus, and I think by implication the human project, reaches its fullness through that resurrection. The framework of all the teachings were leading up to that moment to help us prepare and understand for it. Again, I think that's a poetically nice reading, but my theology is not that strong. So here's Emily Dickinson's poem, "The Props Assist the House," number 729. I don't know enough about Dickinson's scholarship to know where those numbers come from. I don't think she gave them. Right, she wrote her poems on the backs of envelopes somewhere. Let me see if it's... I don't want to waste time in this video. Oh, it's downstairs. Somewhere I have a beautiful facsimile book of her poems, and they're written on the back of scraps of paper. I'll do a video on Emily Dickinson soon. Anyway, without any further ado, here's the poem. I use this poem in the meditation course that I teach often. I bring it in because we spend a lot of time talking about the pose, the physical pose, how to, like 5 points of direction of how to sit in a certain way and how to pay attention, how to train the mind. And this is all scaffolding. And in this case, the body is literally the scaffolding of the experience. The props assist the house until the house is built, and then the props withdraw, and adequate, erect, the house support itself, and cease to recollect the augur and the carpenter. Just such a retrospect hath the perfected life, a past of plank and nail and slowness. Then the scaffolds drop, affirming it a soul. Every time I read that, there's something new. The house supports itself and ceases to recollect the work that went into it. That's a wonderful poem, right? So the idea that what I take from that is the idea that we have our the directions towards meditation practice. Pay attention to the breath, still the mind, allow unperturbed awareness to fill the practice. Other directions around that, around ethics and good behavior, wise outlook, all of these have within them their built-in collapse, their built-in redundancy. And perhaps I would suggest that as you're out there looking for guidance and paths and teachers and books, just check everything that you're exposed to with that lodestone, North Star. Does this practice have within it its own annihilation, its own redundancy, its own dissolution? The Buddha famously says, my teachings are the finger pointing at the moon, not the moon. He says, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill the Buddha. I don't really kill the Buddha, right? It just means that the Buddha, the teachings are there as a scaffolding. The dissolution of the scaffolding, the redundancy of the practice, that moment can feel like death, right? And I think it is. And I think it is training for the ultimate cessation of metabolism. I use that language a lot, right? Like we are experiences that are maintained through metabolism. Metabolism is a chemical process that's probably unique in this form to the planet Earth. But the support of consciousness as an experiential body, like we talked about last week, is a fundamental precipitant of the universe. That changes a lot in terms of how to approach practice. We aren't scrambling to correct anything. We aren't struggling to purify. We are working to settle so that we can emanate. When the framework collapses, all that is left is the emanation. I knew I would get somewhere eventually with this. I wasn't sure when I started where I was going to go with this. Let me just check my notes and see if I've missed. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, but I think this is probably a good point, a good place to stop. I read that Emily Dickinson poem. I've got across the idea that the collapse of the framework is an intimation of mortality. Mortality as the cessation of metabolism, but actually at that point then a sinking into the fullness of what it is to be, what it is to be a human being, what it is to be a being. This is my framework, right? That lived experience of being a dead cosmic creature, obviously I haven't experienced. I have an intuition based on whatever intuitions are based on, the material that's in my mind from my reading and my studies, the teachers I've been exposed to, that I've worked with, my own experiences with meditation, with other mental and spiritual practices. All of those lead me towards this intuition, and it's a strongly held intuition, but it is not yet a lived experience. And, I'm okay waiting for that lived experience because I am attached to this physical existence, as we all are, as we rightly are. But one part of it is a movement towards, and we should cultivate that. When we talk about cultivating practice, cultivating presence, it is an anticipation and a prelude to that fuller sinking in. Yep. So as always, questions, comments, criticism, corrections, just drop them in the chat, and then I always respond. And if it makes sense, I also will take it. And then on Thursdays, a video on Q&A. So let me put down my coffee here. Whoops. Keep your wits about you.